This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Okay, let's get her going on line number 2. And St. John City Councillor at Large, Lynn Hammond, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing okay for Thursday. Looking forward to some weather. It's a pedestrian mall. Can't wait. I love the stroll down there, and the weather's coming. And she's going to be on wheels downtown today, no question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was an interview that I did with Jerry Lynn earlier this week with regards to the code of conduct situation.
Right. You're speaking about Jerry Lynn Mackey, of course, from your VOCM morning show here. Yes.
Yes, thank you. But I do recognize that, there are people who might not be listening that early, but would regularly listen to Open Line. So I felt it was important to call in and just make sure that I clarified some information.
Sure. And Mr. Davis, of course, Tom was on the show earlier this week. So yes, by all means, go right ahead.
Right. So, I think it's really important, and it's quite unfortunate that information was made public, but it has. And I think that it's really important for residents of the city to know that the Code of Conduct submission was not about a single event. There were multiple people involved in the complaint process. The investigator actually interviewed 18 people. And there were multiple incidents, and it established, there was an inappropriate behavior pattern that just could not be addressed by conversation. So this was not a single issue, Brian. It was the Code of Conduct process is really council's only way to address issues when it can't be dealt with, just through conversation. So nobody did this frivolously. We really felt that we had no other choice but to take this approach. And I think it's also important for people to know that a code of conduct process is confidential for a very specific purpose, and that is to protect the people who complain. So we have to recognize that, this did not involve just a couple of city councilors. There were staff that were impacted, and those people need to be protected. So that's why the Code of Conduct report is not released. There should have been no information released whatsoever. It is everyone on council was advised by the city solicitor that it would be against the Code of Conduct for us to speak about the report and the investigator's findings in public. We all received that legal advice. Councillor Davis, however, chose to choose one incident and make it sound, he actually said it was a private conversation about a random podcast. By focusing on a single incident and downplaying the significance of what council and staff have been through in the last 4 months is deeply insulting to staff and to council. This was not a private conversation. We were all sitting together, or a group were sitting together at a table. I was speaking with someone. Councillor Davis was indeed the person who interjected. again, people have been focusing on the podcast, and we're hearing people talk about, the right to voice your opinion and call truth to power and the cost of the investigation. But you know what nobody's talking about? The fact that we had a city councilor who was able, over a period of time, for multiple incidents, to be able to get away with his behavior unchecked. And when he was checked, and we went through the formal process, he did not follow the rules. And so I should not have been in a position to have to come out and address his inaccurate information last week. And it's really unfortunate that I had to, but that's fine. I'm an elected politician. I'll do it. But I think it's very important that people understand this was not about hurting someone's feelings or someone having thin skin. I addressed a very serious issue that was going on at council. I informed Councillor Davis that what he was saying was inaccurate, it was harmful. Instead, he doubled down, and I had to advise him that it was not appropriate for the workplace. And considering it was 5 minutes before we were starting our meeting, I excused myself from the room. The series of events that followed, I can't speak about those, because if I do, I can have a code of conduct violation filed against me. But what I can tell you is that the independent investigator clearly stated that his actions on March the 10th were insensitive and inappropriate in the workplace. And at the end of the day, an independent investigator with 30 years of professional experience found Councillor Tom Davis to be in contravention of the Code of Conduct. That's the conversation. So, when someone in a position of power and influence is making statements about a systemically marginalized group of people who are already fighting their way through the education system and the healthcare system and the justice system and every other system that is not created for them, when a person in a position of influence and power is making statements that align with unscientific theory that is focused on marginalizing and demeaning other people, as the city council lead for inclusion, I would sincerely like to know what else I could have done in that situation.
Yeah, Councillor Hammond, if you don't mind me stepping in, I didn't want to interrupt. So,
of course, no, by all means.
The difficulty is it's hard for the public to follow all of this and understand it. The frustration, you're seeing it in social media due to the privacy issues, which we thought were privacy issues, but as you said, now it's out in the public domain, and it's become just a he said, she said, back and forth with no context for the public to be able to understand. My question, one of the first questions I have is, you're talking about all the, it just wasn't one incident. There were a lot of other things leading up to this, went unchecked. Was the suspension based on all of those other incidents or just this particular incident on March the 10th?
So there were multiple incidents identified in the report.
Okay, but...
right. So and you can go back.
No, and I'm just asking, honestly, I'm just asking to try to understand. I have no skin in the game here. I'm allowing everybody to have the open airwaves.
Yeah, but you know what? In fairness, Brian, you haven't called out any of this.
Pardon me? I haven't what?
You haven't called out any of this either.
Called out any of what, Miss Councillor Hammond? Excuse me, just a sec. What haven't I called out?
So, a code of conduct, whole process happened at City Hall, and we've got a former mayor calling in suggesting it's much ado about nothing.
I've called out what I know, which is the news, which is what's been reported, that he was suspended.
Right.
And here's why he was suspended. And I've given everyone the opportunity to voice whatever side they want to. But until it is all out there, the public, the private report, I refuse to call out anything until I understand it better. And I'm not understanding it as good as I want to because of the privacy issues, because of it was supposed to be private, as you said. Now there's parts leaking out. Everybody has a vested interest. There are sides here that people have that they're...
Who has a vested interest?
The public.
My vested interest as a person in a workplace.
You're absolutely.
Excuse me, may I finish?
I just gave you 9 minutes. Go ahead.
I am a woman with disabilities who ran for city council on a platform of inclusion. My whole purpose for running for City Hall is to make this a more accessible and inclusive city. The Code of Conduct process is required to be confidential to protect complainants. So, people may not like that. However, it is there for a very specific reason. The specific reason I could demonstrate to you with the screenshots of the vitriol and the hate and the attacks that I've received over the last 72 hours. I knew they were coming, but last week I made a decision in consultation with my colleagues at council that I would speak up to make sure that at least at a minimum, I would address the inaccurate information that Councillor Davis has put out in the public. I never should have been in the position to do so, but I am in that position because he ignored the legal direction that we all received to keep the information confidential. Women, in particular, and others, not just women, but people do not report inappropriate workplace activities for the fear of retribution. That's why it's supposed to be confidential. If we cannot have a system where people can address inappropriate behavior without having to do with what I'm doing here today, people will not report. And that doesn't help anyone. This issue was about addressing inappropriate behavior at City Council. It was not about causing any harm to Councillor Davis. It was not politically motivated. It was not, I assure you, it was not about calling truth to power. I welcome informed debate. I welcome new information, but I will not sit in a professional environment where another person who is an elected official and accountable to the people of this city demean women and neurodivergent people. That is what this is about. So the inaccurate information and the frustration that is being played out in the public is because of one reason. Because Councillor Davis chose to do media interviews and try to put a spin on the reality of the situation. That's why there's public debate. It never should have happened. And you know what? If we want to have a city where there is informed debate, where people are actually able to advocate for meaningful things, attacking people's integrity, whether it's others on council or staff, is not appropriate. So I think it's very important for the residents of the city to understand the complexity of what is going on here. But make no mistake, this was entirely about addressing an ongoing problem at City Hall.
And the vitriol and everything that you're exposed to on social media, if you think I'm in favor of that, Councillor Hammond, there's really a disconnect here. I will not
no,
be...
I don't think you
excuse
would be
me,
at
can
all.
I just have a say? Can I just inch in just for a second? If that's okay. Thanks. Look, all I'm saying is none of it is acceptable. We all know what hate is. We all know what meanness is. If you've been listening to the program, it's all about we're flipping that switch here. Until I have an unredacted, fully unredacted copy of what happened, and I won't get it because it's private, we're left to deal with the vitriol in the public domain. I'm not going to be tarred with being a part of that. Calling it out, I called it out. We had a news story. We called out the suspension. We said what it was for, not the allegations, how Mr. Councillor Davis was found to be in contravention of the Code of Conduct. We did all of that. Now the lines are open for him to, look, he's free to call the show. Again, I have no responsibility for that either. And you are free to call the show, and we're 6 minutes over the break. And, the people who call or accuse me of cutting people short, my God, understand it's a program and it's a private broadcaster and a public airwaves, absolutely. And we're just here to let people voice whatever it is they want to voice. And sometimes it's inaccurate, and sometimes it's not fulsome, and sometimes they do spin. It happens all the time. And I'm just giving everybody the opportunity to have their say.
Right, but Brian, when you add at the end of someone's call that I've known him all my life and, he's a good guy.
What's wrong with that?
So you don't think you're framing things that way?
What? Okay, so look, we have a disconnect here. All I'm saying is, yes, I have known him all my life. It's a full, and you know what? If I didn't say that, Councillor Hammond, we'd have people saying, oh, look, he knew him all his life, but he's not going to say it. He's not going to reveal it. I have no problem saying I've known him all my life. Has nothing to do with this incident or what your situation is or what he's doing on council. Nothing.
So, Brian, I called just to address the inaccurate information.
I appreciate that.
That's my reason for calling.
Sure.
It's deeply unfortunate that we are wasting time.
Could not agree more.
Talking about these issues when we actually have serious things that we are working on at the city.
Yep. As you said, you said, I think in a statement online that I caught, I suppose I could file another complaint, but I've been trying very hard to avoid that because I don't think it will help No, and I'm...
Absolutely.
Councillor Hammond, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying what you said to prove your point. My goodness, it comes right back at me. All I'm saying is that's your point, and it's a fair point. And I've gotten inundated with emails and calls and other messages saying, why are we wasting this time? Agree with you on that point, too. $24,000, and it's still going on.
Are you kidding me? You're going to bring up $24,000?
You brought it up. You brought it up at the beginning of this.
I didn't bring up...
Yes, Councillor Hammond, you mentioned the costs, and I'm saying, again, this is all, we're all wasting time and not money. The report had to be done. It's just a vitriol that comes right at me. My goodness, there is a preconception. Well, just then, you were the one who mentioned the $24,000 earlier. You mentioned the cost. You mentioned the cost of the report.
Right.
Yes,
and
so
I was just
reiterating that. There was no ill intent in that. If you're reading things into what I'm saying, you're reading the wrong things.
So I'm not reading into what you're saying. My statement in the beginning was to say that that's the things that people are focused on, and that is truly unfortunate because we actually have a real issue. And by deflecting and focusing on the cost or focusing on some random podcast, that deflects from the reality of what is happening. It's strategic, Brian.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it's not deflecting. Public have a right to know how much it costs, and they have a right to offer opinion on the cost. It doesn't take away from the bigger issue, the Code of Conduct, and all the other issues that we're talking about here. But it's a fair point to mention by the public who are concerned about cost of everything, not just this.
Certainly, but I think what we also need to be talking about is the cost of doing nothing. That if we continue to do nothing and allow this type of behavior in the workplace, there's costs to that. There are personal costs, there are healthcare costs, there are costs to companies, and there are costs to organizations.
Absolutely.
So again, my point in even mentioning that in the beginning is about the deflection. It's about strategically trying to get people to not focus on the issue And the issue is that we had a pattern of behavior at City Hall that was not appropriate, that was not able to be addressed by conversation, and we therefore had no choice but to pursue this code of conduct process. It is required to be confidential for a reason. Councillor Davis is the one who disrespected the process, and that is why we were having this debate in public, and it never should have happened.
Agreed. If we're not going to have, in my opinion, as a reporter or journalist all my life, without all of the details, without all of the facts, I don't go there. I'm giving people the airwaves. I have to say something in between and something at the beginning and something at the end. But I'm being very careful, and I have from the beginning, to try to understand all the dynamics of this. We don't have a full story. What we have is the outcome, that he did breach the code of conduct, that he was suspended with pay, that he's whatever you want to say about it. The discipline came down. And now it's in the public domain, and everybody expects everybody to walk the perfect line on it. It's a touchy subject. It involves all workplaces, all humanity these days. And I've called it out here on the show. They hate the vitriol, the toxic workplaces. I know you don't get a chance to listen to the show all the time. It's amazing to me, though, when some other people will say, oh, you don't do this, you don't do that. But they don't listen to the show every day. So how do you know? But anyway, that's just a side topic. I appreciate the call today. We've gone 10 minutes over the break, which we haven't done since I took over the show full time. So there you go. I appreciate the call.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Go right to line number 8. And let's welcome to the program the Liberal MHA for Virginia Waters, Pleasantville, Bernie Davis. You're on the air.
Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. Just finished a barbecue over an end of school year barbecue here at St. Paul's School, and some 400 teachers and students and staff. So it was just cleaning up for it now. But I wanted to give you a call about about that topic as well.
Yep. No, absolutely. And you came to when I saw your name there. I think you were the executive director and program coordinator at the CLB, the summer program there when my daughter entered it, and she graduated yesterday. Just thought you'd like to know.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Just shows how old we're getting, hey?
Exactly, because you'll remember when we walked in, and I remember seeing you there most days, and she really enjoyed it. Every time we drive by it, she always comments. So there was great work done there.
It was a lot of fun for sure.
So you're doing the barbecue circuit. How's that going?
Congratulations to you.
Oh, thanks.
It's good. I just want to say, first of all, congratulations to you on the new gig, and it's going well. And I'm a long-time listener and caller, of course, but I like the idea of always having some new people involved, like yourself, and that's always been good to keep the conversation going in the community.
Absolutely, I appreciate that.
But I did want to call. It is the last day of school, as you've highlighted, and congratulations to your daughter, but also congratulations to, all the students that graduated this year from the K-12 system, whether it be grade 12 themselves, which is a bittersweet moment for families and friends and the students themselves. This is mostly all they've ever known, being in the school system here by the province, run by the province, and now they go out and spread their wings into whether it's going to be university at Memorial or other university across this country, or post-secondary institutions, whether it be private or public. So, I wish them the best. Congratulations to them and their families, because it takes a full village to raise a child, for sure. Absolutely. I don't know if you had anything else on your plate this morning, but I did want to ask you just a little bit about the current developments, whether it is, you're no stranger to holding down a few portfolios. I think last going off, Minister of Families, Affordability, Status of Persons, Disabilities, Community Sector, Minister of Education, Early Childhood Development. You've sort of ran the gamut, so you know what it's like to hold down a few portfolios. I can't help but think of Minister Evans right now, Leila Evans, who made it very clear, back just over a month ago, that she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and here she has more portfolios than you had, and not only that, some really tough ones. Of course, as being an Inuit and Indigenous person herself, she's in charge of Labrador Affairs and Aboriginal Affairs, and on top of that, just the Department of Health. And I can't imagine, there's just so much going on there right now. Is it too much for one minister, whether or not you're in the best of health or not? I'm no doctor, but it just seems there's so much going on right now. Listen, Brian, first of all, I want to wish, Minister Evans the best of health and in her recovery and all that process. It's challenging, being in health and in the portfolio she has. Any minister in ministerial portfolio is challenging in its own right. To have multiple portfolios is always a challenge. And I know that she's passionate about what she wants to achieve. So I'll leave it there, Brian, on that. But I will say that I wish her the best of health and her, recovery, and we're all rooting for her in the House of Assembly, all 40 of us, regardless of which side of the House. I know the whole province wants her to make full, speedy recovery, and it is important work she's doing and in those portfolios. And as all ministers, I know heavy as the hat. The head that wears the crown, they say. The decisions stop with the minister, and those are important decisions to make. And you did highlight some of the portfolios I did have, and one was education. I was very happy to be the Minister of Education, and this time of the year, it would be remiss on me not to say thank you to the teachers and the staff and the students for what they've accomplished this year. It is challenging. Each school system or each school is a reflection of the community in which it is in, and those challenges make it into our school systems, and our teachers do fantastic work, and I just want to say thank you to them, but not just the teachers, the crossing guards, the bus operators and drivers. The crossing guards do fantastic work. We see them out in all kinds of weather protecting our children. I know as a father of two little girls that are just starting out in the system, it's an interesting way to see the entire system, whether it be the volunteers that help with the breakfast programs or lunch programs. So the big thank you to all those individuals that step up each and every day for our students across this province, and anything we can do to support them. And now is the time for all of our motorists to take extra caution, because the young people are going to be excited to be out on the bikes during the middle of the day, in some cases for the first time with school being closed. So everyone should take some time in our neighborhoods to slow down, have two eyes wide open to watch for those children that are a little excited about the hopefully good weather that's going to be coming any day now. We're hopeful as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians that we're going to have a good weather. We see flashes of it, and I hope that tomorrow will be a brighter day, or sun will shine tomorrow, as they say.
Yeah, good day for barbecue tomorrow. You got another one in the morning? I don't know about I can't go to barbecue at 10 o'clock. I just can't do it.
Well, we've done 4 of the schools in my district. We've just finished the last one, which was St. Paul's here today, and we did East Point yesterday, and Vanier the week before, and MQP was the biggest one. I think they have somewhere around 700 with staff and students. But we've got an efficient group of volunteers that come over and help, and I think the teachers and students appreciate it. And I know as a parent, I appreciate the fact of not having to pack a lunch that day, which is really good for me and my family.
It may seem like a small thing, but it's not just one day. You're trying to plan it out for the week. You don't want it to be repetitive. You want it to be healthy. You need the time to properly do it. And yeah, so of course, it's all the most important thing you can do, but I'm with you on that one too. Bernie, I appreciate the call, man. Thanks. Enjoy your summer. You're not back in the house, I think, until, October? That's scheduled.
Yeah, scheduled, but you never know. We are out in our constituencies meeting with people, and I encourage any individual in Virginia Waters, Pleasantville, but also anywhere in the city of St. John's or anywhere across our province that has a concern to reach out to us as MHAs to try to advocate on their behalf. Sometimes we have success stories that we can share and replicate across to our colleagues, but sometimes, we're really trying to navigate a complex system for people, and even for us it's complex, but I can't imagine for what individuals face sometimes when they're dealing with government. It's sometimes the worst time of their life, and as MHAs we deal with that and try our best to help them. And sometimes we succeed, and we work really hard to try to do that, and sometimes we don't, but we're always trying to answer those questions. So I do encourage people, especially in my district, to reach out to me anytime via phone call or email, and or any of the platforms that I do use, and I'll try to get back to you as quick as I can.
Fantastic. That's the work of the MHA. Bernie Davis, the MHA for, the Liberal MHA for Virginia Waters, Pleasantville. Thanks for this call today. Don't be a stranger. Anytime.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Let's go right to line number 4. And Lisa, you're on the air.
Oh, hi.
Good morning.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly. Go right ahead.
Okay, great. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about
Jimmy Pratt Foundation, and it's a summer inclusion symposium that's happening here in July,
Love
the 22nd,
it, yes.
23rd, and 24th.
Go right ahead. Love it.
Yeah, so it's an event where we have gathered a lot of researchers, critical thinkers, early childhood educators, parents, interventionists from all over. It's not just people speaking from Newfoundland. We have a large contingency of people coming from Mount St. Vincent University who are at least Atlantic Canadian leaders in inclusion for early childhood education. Mm-hmm. We've got our keynote speaker is a really interesting person who's coming to talk about how he builds playgrounds in refugee camps. It's going to be in a really interesting, I guess, event where we're trying to not have a conference like most people are used to going to, where they're just sitting and listening and moving from room to room. We're doing a lot of panels and conversations about, our youngest people in our society and their human rights to belong in places, and a lot about barrier removal and complicated issues, but we really want to gather people together to have some really informed conversations about little kids and their access to early childhood education.
It is a major cornerstone of everything, and the work that the Jimmy Pratt Foundation, and especially the work, even the assessment of those child poverty numbers is really, really troubling. And I love the idea, Lisa, the difference. We all go to these conferences, as you said, and you're in one room, and there's a session, then there's a working group, and then there's a panel, and then there's... But, I know I really love the idea of just switching that up a little bit and trying a different way, to try to... when you walk away from it, it feels like a different experience, that you may have very well gotten more out of it than just the usual, formatted process that a conference takes,
Yeah, we're working really hard to make it. We're calling it a gathering.
Yeah.
We're a gathering of sharing and sense-making, practice, system change, and trying to ground it all in some really basic human rights literacy that most people don't really understand. The international charters of people with disabilities and the international rights of the child. And also there's provincial legislation and rights too, that if you're working with little children, that really you should know about how easy it is to even be thinking you're working in the best interests of people and still violate their human rights.
It is. There's so much
literacy. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just so much going on these days around early childhood and the concerns and the way we go forward. What's at the front of your thoughts these days? Someone in your position with the Jimmy Pratt, who, all about the early years inclusion and belonging and the well-being of kids at that age. Such a young age, so impressionable. They're sponges. We know that they could be. There's a reason why they say, "Oh, you're the spit of your dad or you're the spit of your mom," because you just end up talking and acting and sneezing like them and coughing like them, and that's just the external, behavior. The internal behavior manifests itself a little bit later in life, but we see it come through.
Yeah. Well, there's the literature and the research is very clear. There isn't any intervention or service that we can provide to anybody at any stage of their life that is as powerful as early childhood education. Mm-hmm. Like that research is done. It's tied up with a bow. We can quote it all over the place. There's no intervention for longitudinal success like early childhood education. And there is also no intervention that's more powerful for kids with disabilities than early childhood education. So we need to think, if they're not included in spaces because of disabilities and barriers, our most vulnerable people are missing the most important intervention they could ever receive.
Absolutely. They're set back years if they don't feel that, that they're, the word normal is a massive word these days, but you know what I'm saying. It's close to the normal spectrum that the public, sort of accepts, when you're walking around and just being someone in public. That early, if you have a disability at that age, oh my God, you can only imagine what goes through, how it forms in the child's mind.
Well, it's also a complication of, there are families when their children are very, very young. They know the disability is present.
many of children between 0 and 5, while they're in child care settings, they don't have their diagnosis yet. They're in the 2-year waiting list for occupational therapy, for their autism diagnosis, their neurodiversity diagnosis, and other things as well, even developmental trauma, those things. It's really challenging because, a lot of times when kids are in school, they're coming with the diagnosis, but this is really complicated for families too, who are also learning as they're going within systems that are not really designed for them. So it's complicated for the professionals. It's extremely complicated for the families. And at the end of it, I think, inclusion is very complicated. We'd never be able to define it perfectly. But we do need to think more about just getting people inside the doors, because that's not authentic inclusion. These kids really need to feel like they belong in places. And that's really what this entire symposium is about, is, if we just break down all the incredible complications of this entire system, at the end of the day, does this little person feel like they belong in that space? And if we've done that, we don't need a lot of extra money. We don't need a lot of extra whatever. It's the attitude of, how do I make this person feel like this is their soft place to land? This is their place where they get the things that they need and that they can feel like they truly belong. And that, at the end of the day, we're going to talk about a lot of really complicated things during these days, but that's really our goal at the end of the day, is to remember that there's a little person inside of all these barriers that really just wants a place to belong.
Yeah, we do have to put ourselves in that mindset, completely. Where are they and what do they need, as opposed to what do we feel that we need to do to make us feel better? It's
yeah, exactly.
They have to be first and foremost. This is fantastic. So it's July the 22nd to the 24th. And where exactly? I was just looking online. I see the symposium and I don't see a location.
Yes. We are up at beautiful Signal Hill.
Right.
So we are having, we're not calling them fireside chats, we're calling them harborside chats.
So this is in the Emera Innovation Center, is it? Or the Emera Exchange?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, I guess so, yeah. It's the Munn campus. There's that beautiful room that looks out over the harbor. And we just extended the early bird rate until Sunday. We've got a beautiful partnership happening with Playful Mindset, with the Provincial Association here of Early Childhood Educators, the Family Home Child Care Association, the Jimmy Pratt, Empowered Parents. It's been a really great partnership of a lot of very invested frontline community groups who are participating as well. So the early bird rate is going to go on until Sunday, and then we move to our full rate. And then we have a lot of scholarship opportunities if you are an early childhood education student or a professional who works in early childhood education. If you're underwaged or unwaged, we have scholarship opportunities for people to come. Yeah. You can join online. You can come in person. We have about over 200 early childhood educators joining online through a support program with ASML. It's been beautiful to be able to do that. So we're running 2 conferences, really, one online and one live. So it's a lot of spreadsheets. But if anybody wants to reach out, there's lots of information on the Jimmy Pratt page, and we'd love to have the room full of fantastic conversations with people's lived experiences.
Fantastic. Lisa, I really appreciate this call. Jimmy Pratt Summers Symposium at gmail.com, or as you said, jimmyprattfoundation.ca.
Yep, that's us.
Good luck. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
All right, to line number 1, and Jeff, you're on the air. Morning, Jeff.
I just want to say that I think that you're the perfect fit for the show, and I've been listening for a long time.
Well, I appreciate that, Jeff. I don't think much here, but look, I just say it as it comes. What can I say? I never knew whether or not this would work out at all. All I know is, I've been around long enough to know a little about everything, about all the issues that we face here in this province. Grew up here, lived here my entire life, seen it all, heard it all, covered it all. And I call it as I see it. So that's it. And if it's working for people, I appreciate it. If it's not, I won't be here long.
Well,
and that's fine too.
For a long time.
Well, I appreciate the kindness, and to be honest with you, I've been inundated with that very much sentiment. I will say that. I talk about what emails we get, but it has been quite expansive this morning. I don't have a chance to read all of them, but you get both sides of the critique with any subject, but this is very one-sided and in a good way for me, so I really appreciate the comments. I'm just trying to keep it as balanced and straight up against the narrow as possible, despite what may be said otherwise about me. So there you go.
Well, I wanted to chime in on the conflict at St. John City Hall.
Sure.
Okay, so I have been following it, and as a taxpayer in St. John's, whose property taxes, I just got notification they'll be increasing next billing. I just would really implore everybody involved now to move beyond it. I feel like, sincerely, I'm in the middle of everything. I'm not taking any sides or anything, but I understand. Well, first of all, I understand that most of us won't know exactly what happened because the report is redacted. So we can never know. And so you're right. You're exactly right. It's a he said, she said situation where it'll just never be resolved in public.
Yeah, and I won't be bullied into one side or the other. And that's what it is. You can call it what it is, but I mean, when they come at you and make allegations, and not anyone in particular here, not anyone in particular. Let me repeat that before someone loses their mind. It's coming from various circles. When people put words in your mouth and they think you said this and you think you said that. And again, I'll say it again. I was accused today of not calling out. Calling out what? Once I see a report that's not 80% blacked out, I'll make an assumption, or not an assumption, I'll make a conclusion as to where I stand on this. But you're right. It was supposed to be a private report. Everybody's saying it was supposed to be private. Now people are talking about it out in public domain with their own spin, both sides. So, I'm just not going to be hauled into it. I'll call it as I see it. Give me the report, unredacted, all the facts. As Ron Ellsworth said, he was going to do it and take the consequences even. He said that here on this show. He told me, look, if it means, being ripped or being found in contempt or whatever for the code of conduct himself, he said he was going to release all the information. I look forward to that.
Well, I have a little bit of a different spin. As a taxpayer of St. John's, with all kinds of very important, difficult issues facing the city, I actually don't care about the report anymore. HR company did a investigation. There were consequences doled out. It's redacted. It's fine. I accept everything. I accept that there were parties that were hurt. I accept that there were parties that feel like they had to defend themselves, that there was an injustice on their side. I accept all of it, but I really feel like, let it go, guys. Let it go. We're here in the city. There's real issues. You had a conflict at City Hall, a significant conflict at City Hall. It was investigated. There were consequences. It's time now to let it go. So in saying that, I'm directly speaking to Tom Davis here now over the air, because Tom's going to want to call in and defend himself, rightly so. Of course, if he feels like this has been unfair to him, he's going to want to do that. But I'm really, really imploring Tom to not do that. Just let it go. Let it slide this one time. And let's just get back to City Hall and do what you've been elected to do, and that is to weigh in on city decisions. And then it's enough. That's what I'm saying. As a taxpayer of St. John's, it's enough.
You're speaking for many people. Absolutely, Jeff. There's no question.
I feel like I am speaking for many people.
You are.
We don't care. We want you to do the business of the city. All that other stuff, there was a complaint filed. It was investigated. There were consequences. Let's move on, guys. Let's move on.
And it was private for a reason, absolutely. Now, look, I will say both sides of this. I can understand that some people would say, well, when it's a toxic or harassing environment or whatever it might be, and I'm not speaking specifically to the Davis incident, but if there are issues like that going on in a workplace, then that becomes difficult to do the job. So I'll acknowledge that as well. Problem is, again, we have these weird drip, drip, drip snapshots in time from a report that no one has seen, and instead we're forced to listen to the back and forth on the media or on the airwaves, which, look, everybody is entitled to their opinion, but I'm with you. The dynamic here is that it was a private report, and now everybody's talking about it. And they're not talking, and we don't have all the information. So it's just the gap in information makes this ripe for the vitriol and all of the back and forth and he said, she said that's going on.
That's right. But instead of releasing the unredacted report like Ron Ellsworth claims he's going to do, I would back up on that. Let that report go. Just bury that report. Tom's going to return to work after his suspension, and he's going to be on his best behavior. And let's hope, right? And he's going to avoid specific subjects that may trigger others. And he's going to be, he's been on the show. He's apologized. I'm not defending Tom, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying what's done is done. I think everybody knows what needs to happen next, and that is, get over it.
Yep, and I'm with you. Just to be clear, the only reason I went down the road of, the entire report, and I'm with you. I want to move on as much as anybody. Is just that, somebody said, Councillor Hammond said that I would not call out anybody on it. Well, until I saw that report, wouldn't anyone want all of the information before they're calling people out? I know I would, because there's a legal issue that then injects itself into the conversation. I'm not going there. I have more experience in that. I've covered the courts for too long. So I know where to step and where not to step. And without all the facts, just like a court case, I'm not going to go there until I have every bit of fact that gives me the best judgment. So that's all I'll say to that.
I don't think that you've done anything wrong, and I've been listening to the whole thing. And I've listened to Tom for a long time come on your show and talk about different subjects, and I really value his perspective on a variety of different topics. Does that mean that I agree with him on everything, or that he doesn't go down a scattered wormhole like all of us might? I don't think for a second the man is perfect. And if something was said that was off color, even if he holds it to be true to this day, just avoid that conversation in the future. Accept that people make mistakes, and then come on, guys. Let's get back to it. Let's figure it out.
We all do, and none. Yep.
Get back to the problems that are facing the city. Manage the money efficiently. Get the services out efficiently. Make some improvements around. The city is, I got to tell you, I'm 50, and in the last, definitely since COVID, this city is in steep decline. And we need all kinds of things. Regulations on Airbnb to address the housing issue. And it seems like a lot of these issues are just stagnant. And then we got to listen to this foolishness. Yep. It's enough with it.
Yeah, that was a long call this morning. A lot said, but nothing really on the actual issues that we're all facing in the city. So, point taken. Right. Jeff, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. Well said.
Keep it going, Brian.
Thanks, man. Take care.
I want a Brian Callahan, open line Brian Callahan cap by Mandy Lee Daw.
Point at the...
Talk to you later.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Right to line number 3. And Eddie, thanks for your patience. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I am good, and I sure do love listening to the VOCM open line show and get all the different perspectives that people have regarding what's happening in our society and in our provinces.
It's the beauty of the beast.
Oh, it's the beauty of the beast, and I just love it. I've been listening to you guys for years, Baz, and a lady was on there, and I've been calling for years, but I haven't been. Now I got you guys on my phone on the app thing. Mm-hmm. So I drive bus nighttime. I drive the Winnipeg passenger bus, a 56 passenger bus. So when you guys come on there, Sarah Strickland and what's her other name? I forget her name now.
Linda and Brian Medore and Linda Swain and.
Exactly, yeah. Linda Swain used to do Nightline as well.
Yeah, we got Zach and everyone, and Beth now in the newsroom, yeah. And Richard, of course, yeah. Richard Duggan, yep. I'm going to forget someone.
Are you there full-time now?
I am the new host of this program, absolutely. I used to be in the newsroom. I was in there for, this is 2026, so almost 6 years in that newsroom and in other newsrooms in this province for the past 30 years.
Wow, that's awesome, and you're doing a wonderful job there trying to deal with all the different issues with the town council down there fighting and whatever is going on there with the guy got suspended. And, things like that, we get the air. It's an education, really, if people want to listen to what's going on in the provinces and how things are going on the island. But having said that, I'm calling you regarding Marine Atlantic, okay?
Okay, here's a topic. Go for it.
My Lord, last year, because I goes home most every year. I goes home at least every second year. I go home, I either fly or I take my RV. Now, last year I phoned early because I get a month off. I don't work August, so I drive 11 months of the year for the bus company, and August is mine. So that's the agreement I made with them. So I phoned the Marine Atlantic last year, and I said I need to get across to Newfoundland for a month to 29, 30 days, and I said I need to get on the ferry. And she told me, no, not open. No, not open. Yes, we have one there. I said, oh, okay. I said, I got a 28-foot motorhome. I said, oh, my goodness. She said, you're out of luck. You're out of luck. We can only take passengers. We cannot take a large motorhome, and we'll have no room all summer for it. So that was out the window. So I said to her, who was on the phone, I said, now, can I book a year in advance? Certainly, she said, if you want to. I said, yeah, book a year in advance, and I'll pay for it now. So she got me on August 5th, and what I'm doing this time, because I'm going to Argentia on the ferry up to Argentia, which is by St. John's, right?
Yes, that's closer, much closer. It's only about an hour and a little from St. John's, yep.
Yes, it is. And then I'm going to go into St. John's. Do they have tours down there in TV and you guys for away from home?
Well, you mean tours of like those businesses, like the NTV business or the VOCM business?
Yeah, like to go in and tour the place that you watch every night on TV, because I watch the news in TV every day, every evening. And in the morning, I put you guys on at 6 o'clock Manitoba time.
Yep, 2.5 hours.
There and there. Eh?
Yeah, 2.5 hours, right? I think central to you.
It is correct. That is correct. And then, so I will listen to the last hour there when they're on, and then you comes on right after.
I love it.
So got the ferry. Now I got the ferry coming across on August the 5th, going to Argentia. Then I'm going to spend a couple of days in St. John's going around, because I haven't. Last time I was in St. John's, I was in the hospital for 4 months, the Janeway. So that's a long.
You were at the Janeway?
Yes, I was there for 4 months. I went to school. There, everything.
Yeah, where are you from originally, Eddie? You just mentioned you were coming home. Where are you from originally?
Well, I was originally Roddyton, but my parents died. I should get you a book and bring it home to you. I wrote a book, eh?
Yeah. Well, you can let me know certainly how to find it or see it online, or if there's any way to have a look for it. At least I can look it up. But I was just curious. So you're from Northern Peninsula, up Roddyton way?
Yes, sir. And what happened when my parents died? There was 9 of us. I got sent out to Ingley, so I spent 5 years in Ingley, and then when I was 19, I left Newfoundland and went to Manitoba and got a job, and I've been working ever since. So I'm retired for 14 years, but I'm not retired because there's too many bills. So I drive bus full time, nighttime, because I love driving.
Good job. Right. But so you got a ticket to get here. The question is, can you get off?
Yes, sir. So that's what I was saying. I was talking to the lady there. She said, sir, you probably know more than I do. And she was because I phoned them last week. I said, what's the chances? I said, that I'll get canceled again. I said, because I'm going down and going up to Argentia and then driving across the island, going all the way down to the Northern Peninsula for a couple of weeks. And then I'm driving up to Port aux Basques and coming back by Port aux Basques way.
Right. And what was the response?
She said, I can't tell you anything. She said, your what do you call it? Your booking is still there. It's still good. And she said, just keep checking your email because you probably know more than I do. I don't know what's going on with Marine Atlantica. We're running and blah, blah, blah. And I said, that's going to be awful because it's come home here in Inglee too, this year.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been following us, as you said, religiously, like us and other media organizations in the province. You'll probably know that the Marine Atlantic is in the news for the labor relations sort of snafu that's going on right now, and the challenge by the union before the Labour Relations Board or the Canadian Industrial Relations Board. You know, they have the right to strike, but what they want to do is remove some of the services that the ferry, basically the crossings, which could put another whole wrinkle into things. Now, there's no indication that this would happen anytime really soon because they're in this period of cooling off and they're in negotiations. Apparently, well, the union is asking Marineland to come back, but there's definitely a stalemate right now, and it's thrown a lot of concern at the actual ferry crossing, which, as you know, is the only way to get on and off in a vehicle. So just so you know, that could be causing some of the uncertainty that you may have encountered in the voice that you heard on the other end of the line from the booking agent.
Yes, because I know what negotiations does. You go, I negotiated twice there in the mining industry with the union. When they were negotiating contract. I was a member of the negotiating committee, so I know all about these things, give and take, and I'll push you, you push me, I'm not going to talk to you for a week, and all these kinds of things puts pressure on the other party, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that's
leverage,
all happening. Yeah, leverage between the two parties. Leverage is, well, all those people in this summertime, all of those Newfoundlanders, not only Newfoundlanders, many people come to Newfoundland from all over the world.
And even just beyond that, I mean, look, it's the essentials for the people of this province, first and foremost. Yes, tourism. There are a lot of nervous tourists. There are a lot of people in the tourism and hospitality industry, the trucking industry, the commercial, the need to get essential. I mean, actually, I don't need to tell you, that's how we get a good portion of our food and medications and other things. It has been deemed an essential service. It was so more than 20 years ago. But this is the leverage that the union is using now. They want to try to push the envelope, if you will, and say, well, we want the right to be able to remove services and reduce it even further. So the Port of Ask run would be just 3 runs back and forth each week, and there would be no Argentia service, which could happen at some point, depending. And if you got anything booked with them, you'd be nervous.
Yeah, I am nervous because I got a book for August the 5th, and I'm leaving Manitoba on the 28th to start my journey down there. And the only thing is I got 2 brothers that live in Nova Scotia, so I could go visit them, but I want to get across to the island. I'm turning. If I get across on the island, and on my way back after midnight, I'll be in my 78th birthday.
Wow. Well,
I'll have it on the ferry.
Happy early one. Just to be clear again, I know you. So she said you are booked for the return trip, correct?
I'm booked for return too. Yeah, boat. And she said boat is okay right now.
Okay.
And that's where I am with it. So I was wondering, if some people, the people that come from away, there's thousands of people that come to Newfoundland by ferry. There's thousands that come by flight. And it is an essential service. It's our highway, man. It's our highway to what we're going to do. What if we shut down the Trans-Canada Highway between Toronto and Montreal or between Toronto and Winnipeg? No services. The road closed. Same thing. It's the highway to Newfoundland. It's by sea, but it's part of the Trans-Canada highway system.
We make that comparison, but not everybody gets it. Other people will point to the population disparity and say, well, sure, they're not going to shut down the highway of Toronto-Montreal because it's the population base and how many people there are compared to how many people here. Shouldn't even be a problem. Shouldn't even be a question.
Shouldn't even be a problem. Shouldn't even be a question.
Corrected.
The government got to get involved, and yes, people should have a good contract for the work to do. I'm all for it. I'm not against anybody who's trying to make a better living. They do a good job over there. I've never had issues. I went across there 11 times so far. This would be my 12th in the last 35, 36 years. So I've been there in Joey Smallwood and the other boat, and I spent one across there 11 times. It's our highway, and people the government got to understand. Newfoundlanders, always Newfoundlanders get it in the rear.
And not to be, there you go, Eddie. That's a good place to leave it. Look, thanks for listening. I'll be thinking about you. I really will. Late night bus driver listening to us back home. That's fantastic. I really appreciate this. Give us a shout. Give us a shout when you get here.
Yes, I will. I will give you a call if I make it in Newfoundland. Absolutely. And you guys are in my ears. I drive the highway from Thompson to Winnipeg, full of passengers, and I do it. Wow. I do it 4 nights a week and 3 nights off. Sometimes I do more if you don't have drivers. But it's awesome talking to you. I didn't think I'd be able to get through, but I did.
Well, we try to get everyone on the air. People have their suspicions about what's going on here. It is just trying to get everybody on the air. We don't want to pee anybody off. Oh my God!
Exactly. I don't. If I phone you, if they phone you, I don't want to phone beyond phone 10, 15 minutes, 5 minutes sometimes, depending on what the subject is. Yep. And then sit back and listen to people. I know they tell you and they say you the worst thing in the world. The worst thing in the world that ever come about is that friggin' social media.
Yeah, I won't argue with you there.
My God, and they got on Facebook, I know, because it did it to me and did it to us in our company when we started our new company. You never hear nothing good. You only hear when something goes wrong. That's the only time they remember you. And I know I'm guilty of it too sometimes, especially with Donald Trump. When he gets on there, I go right after him.
On that note, Eddie, I got to let you go because I got to go.
Yes, but
thank you. Appreciate, and don't forget to give us a shout when you get here.
I will do. Thanks a million. Have a wonderful day.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Let's see, not waste any time. Let's go right to line number 6. And Stu, you're on the air.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you for Thursday?
Not too bad.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, this moose situation again is, of course, is still out of hand. We can't make moose more important than the lives of people, or at least we should not be doing that. But that seems to be the status quo, as far as I can understand. And when it comes to now, because I'm going to be headed looking to put together another class action against the government, who claims they don't own the moose, but they are the ones that issues the license, and if you do anything wrong, they'll take everything you own. So if somebody claims they don't own anything but make you pay money, then they're racketeering. No better than mobsters. But in any event, again, when we're talking about government, we're talking about public servants. They certainly seem to have forgotten that they work for us and not the other way around. And like I said, now as for the last class action, the gentleman that did that, I think it was Chess Crosby, he didn't do his own work, because I found case law that makes this matter of liability right in their lap. And this is an older case law, but it's still on the books, and it says that the Crown must not escape liability for nuisances on the highway, anything that can cause harm or damage to people or their properties. So I will be starting up a new class action, and this time we'll get it right. Now, when it comes to fencing, that is, a fence, Brian, is the oldest form of animal control ever devised by man. It's ancient beyond ancient. So, an error, like I remember when I was with Solpac, the government says, well, we'll test the fences to see if they work. The arrogance and the incompetence and the lack of comprehension is unbelievable. So, you yourself, of course, and me and everybody else in this province need to make our servants understand that they are our servants and they must be subordinate to us. But all we're getting out of government is, you call them up, they don't call you, they don't want to do anything. You know, and here we have people being killed on the highways, unfortunately, you know, due to something that can be fixed. Bad driving sometimes is something that can't always be fixed, but we always try to improve our driving abilities, you know, when we're on the highways. And I always drive defensively, which I'm looking out for somebody that could be doing something wrong, and I, you know, can take appropriate actions. But you can't always do that at night when a moose can pop out on the highway, bro. These critters can run 50 feet in 1 second. Yeah, 50 feet in 1 second they can run. And, you know, and people got the audacity to keep saying, well, you know, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. You know, it's the driver's fault. Generally, if you do
sometimes it is. There's no question. Sometimes it is, and unfortunately, I mean, gosh, I know you're calling in the light of the tragedy in Aquafort this week, like earlier this week. I just can't even. The father and daughter who were killed. It's hard for me to look at that story. I just can't imagine what those families are going through right now. The friends and the families. And to see her beautiful, you know, face in the hockey gear, and it's just really, really, it gets people to this point again, and it's going to happen again and again. And you're right, they are the public servants. It's absolutely true. But on the flip side, they'll say, well, they were elected to make decisions for us. And, you know, I mean, then it's up to us to react, or at least to be consulted before they do. And I've seen the letter from the town of Aquafort in this case as well. You know, the absence of meaningful action by the provincial government, I'm quoting now from the letter, on brush cutting and related safety measures along this highway is, at this stage, nothing short of negligent. I've driven it. It's hard to argue with that statement.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that would be the first line of defense is cut that brush back. And I don't want to hear the arguments that we don't have any money, because we seem to have money for anything that, you know, like if somebody contributes to your campaign, and when I get into office, I'll make sure he gets a big fat contract. There's too much of that going on as well. So the money is there.
And that's the politics.
You know, exactly. It's not an issue. But like I said, we need to remind our public servants, they are public servants, and now you're talking about, like I said, they were elected to govern us and so on and so forth. They were elected to look after what the people actually need, not shove garbage down their throats, not ignore them. Like 95% of them, because I mean, your radio show is full of it every day. How terrible they are.
And they are ignoring. They are ignoring right now. In my humble opinion, we are being ignored. There are massive issues out there right now. Whether it's the Innu situation, whether it's Moose vehicle, whether it's the new issues with with Cork Care and kids having access, being able to restrict access from the age of 12 to 15. It goes on and on. I'd like to get into all those topics, but you're right. There is an ignoring going on. Whether even you want to point back to the Premier, kind of ducking out a side or back door on the Innu on Tuesday at the Legion in Labrador, and that's a fact. Now it's been reported, but certainly not denied. So, and you know, I just want to make a point too, Stu, if I can. And I just said a moment ago, sometimes it is speeding, sometimes it absolutely is. The problem, of course, is, and not a problem, but in the news business, you know, as a reporter, you really do have to wait for the investigation to conclude. You know, and there's no one, it is a horrific, tragic loss, but we don't know officially what the cause of this accident was. We know there was another vehicle involved. There are a multitude of reasons that this could have happened. We know for sure that it's because a moose got on the highway. That's on the Southern Shore Highway. That's undeniable. But, you know, what happened and who turned which way and to what extent and how did they collide? Like, the traffic reconstructionists are there for that. I'm always loath as a reporter to make any assumptions about an accident until I have some kind of, you know, more technical explanation of what happened, or even any technical explanation, you know. And there could, you know, in cases where there's charges. We just saw this fatal accident in St. John's a couple of weeks ago. Sadly, a young Bangladeshi student from Memorial University was killed. You know, there were suppositions and there was speculation and there were rumors about what occurred, because the RNC did say there was a failure of a roadside screening device. It was a couple of weeks before they could come out and officially say that this person was charged with impaired driving. So, you know, impaired causing death. So it's just that, for me as a journalist, I struggle a little bit with jumping to conclusions when I don't have a final report. But the issue is unmistakable. Too many moose.
Yeah, and like I said, if you do your homework, you can soon find out that moose accidents are generally moose that running into people. You probably get a 95% of that. It's the moose that's running across that highway.
I don't doubt that at all. You're absolutely.
You know, and like I said, and bad drivers, well, so that's part of what it is. But we must keep in mind that safety is paramount at all costs, at all times, when it comes to keeping the people safe. Mm-hmm. This is where our servants are failing us.
You're right.
And again, the case law just says is that the negligence of its servants who was responsible for the highways, for all of it, leaving it in, you know, like moose, again, is a nuisance, and it is a safety concern, and it's, you know, whatever. Yep. And the Crown is liable. So this is the case law that's going to be put forward. And what else is going to be put forward? We're going to well, I'm going to be part of it anyway, put forward, is that government, again, I always talk about the fact that government are public servants, and they must be subordinate to us. And like I said, everybody's on this program generally talking about how bad government is. So we all need to step up and remind them that they work for us. Stop wasting money on foolishness, like, you know, that's another big long story. But anyway, you understand what I'm saying. I
certainly do. Stu, I will say this as well. I mean, the letter that I quoted there from the town of Aquafort, and, you know, it's palpable. You can see the frustration, the anger, and this disappointment here. As I mentioned, you know, it's crickets from government. And even the area MHA, I'm kind of surprised that there's been no word from Loyola Driscoll, the MHA for Fairland District, just to, in any way, shape, or form, to comment on this. One way or the other. We're looking into it. We're sympathetic. We're doing what we can. It's been identified. Maybe we're putting it on the list. I don't know. But anything is better than nothing.
Yeah, I think in the case of when you have public servants that completely ignore the public that they work for, these people should be prosecuted in court.
Well, if there's an election next week, it wouldn't be the case. I can tell you that.
I tell you what, though, I don't believe in democracies and elections. I tell you why. Because anybody can be anything in a democracy, and too many people vote that have no clue what they're doing. So I'm all for building a republic. We get our resources back. We don't need political parties to keep dividing us, because that's all they're any good for. That's all they've ever done. We just need better servants to do the work, to provide the services, you know. And again, we get control of our resources. Do you realize that we've lost over $300 billion counting since 1997, gone to foreign corporations who come here, take the oil, and give us a few jobs, and $8 on a barrel of oil still. I put that to Andrew Parsons a long time ago. Like, why are we still? Oh, well, we're working on it. You know, the old go-to, right? We're working on it.
Absolutely. That's down another certainly important one.
I'll be in touch more as we move along. Get something geared up towards another class action one that this time will be successful.
Absolutely.
And the government is listening to this. They can start right now by allocating some money, the stuff that they like to waste, towards more fencing, because it does work.
Yep, and you can start with a phone call right here and let us know that they're going to do it.
Absolutely. Exactly. Somebody should give you a call right now after hearing this and say, you know what, we're going to get to work on that.
Just to say they understand, you know. Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear. This is horrific, and we are on it. We reconfirm our $6 million that we just put out there for fencing and brush cutting. And I will say this too: I am a defender of democracy. I'll push back a little there. I don't like the way our politics work, but I am a defender of democracy. I will stick with that.
But this is the problem.
Yep.
This is the problem with democracies. We end up with these little tyrants, because that's what I call them. Because some of them are tyrannical.
Yeah. Well.
But anyway,
that's another one for another day. Stu, look, I got to run off. Yep.
Great conversation, and I'm going to be in touch more as we move down the road. We need to make things happen, but every chance you get, call them out.
Yeah, and let me know where that class action is when you get a chance.
Certainly will, sir. Thank you so much.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's talk to Marie on line number 2. Marie, you're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Not bad. I called you a couple weeks ago concerning my rent.
Oh, the rent increase. Yeah. Now, are you in the Goulds area? No. Kilbride? No.
No, I'm not.
Okay, I'm trying to remember.
I'm on the East End.
In the East End?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the latest?
I got some good news.
Yay. Oh, my God. Maria, you have no idea. I don't care what it is. I'm just happy it's good news. Go for it.
The rent went up to $12.95. Sheila O'Leary helped me and called the housing, so they're going to pay half the rent from it.
Wow, that is great news. Now, I imagine there's a policy here that they were able to avail of, because God knows, they're not going to bend beyond that. But that's fantastic news. And I mean, Sheila's a busy person today, and her office is certainly Amanda and company. But that's great news. So it seems to have worked out. Do you want to just remind us what the situation was before that and why you had to go down this road?
The situation was I had to go away for a while, okay? We won't get into that. Anyway, I was out of town, put it that way. And when I come back, they said because I didn't sign the lease, they put the rent up to $170. Okay? So Sheila O'Leary came here to the building, and I had to sign a piece of paper giving them the rights to talk on my behalf because I couldn't do this all by myself.
Right, so they were designated to deal with this with your permission. Go ahead. Yeah, sure.
Yes. So then of June of this year, the rent has gone up another $50 for.
Right.
So when I called Northview, I said, can I sign a lease? They said, no, you're not allowed to sign a lease. You can't sign a lease.
Okay.
They automatically put me on month to month.
Right.
Because they said, I might have to go in a home or something.
Okay.
So the rent went up again, and it brought it up to $12.95. Okay.
And landlords can legally raise rent. I mean, they can do it, but they can't impose a cap on it too. But there's no percentage cap. They can only do one per year. And some of these buildings or establishments or whatever you want to call them, some of them are larger compounds or whatever you want to call it. Some of them have changed. Like they won't even rent to a month. It's like a year or 2 years out. They're all gone to long-term leases instead of short-term. But they put you month to month, and then what happened?
They brought the rent up higher. So
of course, yeah.
Last year they put it up 170. This time they only put it up 50. So I called them and asked them. I said, "How come you put the rent up?" I said, "Last year 170, and now you only got it up to 50." She said to me, "We're not allowed to do that to you anymore."
And did she explain that?
No. She said, "We're just not allowed to do that to you anymore."
Because there's a lot of people listening to this, wondering if they can also get their rent cut in half, or at least some kind of relief from any increases that are coming. So I expect, for starters, even though not everybody may be in Sheila O'Leary's district, but her office is probably going to get inundated now because she's found a solution for you, and people will probably be hoping that they can find a solution for her as well in some way out of the increases in rent that we're seeing.
Yes. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But everybody's in this. It is ridiculous. Everyone is in a different boat, of course, financially. What supports there are. You have to meet the test, and there are all kinds of stipulations and a lot of red tape that has to be cut through in order to get to an individual circumstance whereby you can drill right down and know exactly what you do or do not qualify for. Here, it seems that your MHA did all that legwork and drilled down and found out what you could and couldn't receive, and you've got a solution. And as Dave just in my ear just mentioned, yeah, maybe not Sheila, but everybody's got an MHA in this province. And if one MHA can find that, it wouldn't suggest that it's just something they've done. It suggests that there are options within the rent increase envelope that can be availed of for some people, not everybody. Everybody's situation's different. So, but I'm really glad it worked out for you in this case, Marie. And of all the negativity we hear about it, that you did find some relief, through this process.
God,
it's great.
I was so upset.
I'll bet.
I thought I was going to be out on the street.
Well, there are a lot of people.
I'm only getting old age.
Yeah, and there are many people in that same boat.
And a little bit of CCP, and I work with healthcare and everything, but I can't go to work anymore. So.
Yeah, well, again,
anyway.
I don't know all of the intricacies of your situation, but clearly there was something that could be done for you, and let's hope there's something that can be done for others in the same position.
Yes, it can. All you got to do is fight for it.
Yep, and let your MHA do the fighting for you. That's what they get paid the big bucks for.
Right.
Yep.
But I mean, I'd bring all the paperwork and everything into Newfoundland Labrador housing. I mean, they're not going to take just something over the phone.
Right. Oh, no, there's a lot of legwork that has to be done if you really want, not really want to. It's, housing is a necessity. Shelter is a necessity right up there with food. And you're going to do whatever you can. And when you don't get the answer that you want, you have people that are there to advocate for you, whether it's the consumer advocate, who we will have on the program here tomorrow morning, Adrian Ding. That's going to be a great chat.
Yeah.
The new consumer advocate is going to join us tomorrow. And or whether it's that or whether it's your MHA, they know the ins and outs. They know the red tape. They do this on a regular basis, and housing is one of the big ones, especially when it comes to rent increases. So they know the system a lot better than the average Joe or Jane. And this is why they can find solutions for you that you and I may never be able to navigate, because we're just not doing it all the time.
Well, I haven't got all the work to do, but I haven't got, like I told Sheila, I need to, back up with this.
Exactly.
I can't do it by myself.
Yep. And some of us have,
She went to the House Assembly, she told me. She called me, I think the next day or so, and asked me how I was getting on. And so I was really, really upset.
I'm sure you were.
And she went to House Assembly with all this. But she never gave no name. She just went to the House Assembly.
Yeah, and looked into what was available for anyone generally, probably in your position. If you're saying she didn't go with no names, it may have just been an inquiry as to here's the situation, here's the numbers, here's this person's situation, what are they eligible for? And sometimes you really have to go deep into that route and the House of Assembly. It's good to hear, though, that work is being done because, they're often being criticized for wasting their time in the House of Assembly, at least in question period. That's my opinion.
Yes, and I got to give out a good thank you to Sheila O'Leary for helping me.
Well, you've done so, and apparently she's on the line helping someone else, so good. That's great, Marie. Look, I take any pieces of good news here on the program just to balance out the other stuff, so I really appreciate it. Thanks for this, and I'm really happy that you've got a bit of solution, at least for the short term.
I did. I had to call you back and let you know.
Yeah, and absolutely. And as people will hear me say ad nauseum, we really value those calls back because we're always wondering what happened when people call with a situation like yours. So being able to put a bow on it or at least resolve it to this point is, it's music to my ears.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Thanks,
and there
Marie.
is hope. People just got to get into it and look for help.
Yeah, it doesn't happen automatically. You do have to make the early, the steps and make the decision to go down that road. Find the right people who can work for you and just do it in a calm and controlled nature, just like all of us, we hope.
Yes.
Thanks, Marie. I really appreciate the call. And thanks for calling me back with that update and letting me know.
I had to let you know.
Yep, and I love that you did.
Okay.
Take care. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
But line number one and caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Go for it.
How's it going? How you doing this morning?
Pretty good. Almost up to the noon hour.
Okay, the reason why I'm calling is because I'm reaching out to the public for help on a situation that I'm going through. Mm-hmm. I live out in central Newfoundland, and I had a building contractor come in my house for a couple of months in 2023. And anyway, he done a really, really horrible job on my house. And one day we had an argument over the quality of the work and how long it was taking and other things. And he ended up leaving and left my house incomplete. So I have no bathroom for 3 years now. I've had no bathroom in my house. We only have a toilet and a sink out of the 3 bathrooms. Me and my family have been showering at the public swimming pool for the last 3 years. And the thing is, on top of that, I can't really say too much because it's actually going through court. But this guy is trying to sue me for $25,000 of work that he didn't even do, and I have timestamp pictures and videos to prove that the work was done before he came in the house or was never done at all. So I need people like building contractor inspectors to come in and inspect this work. And I'm reaching out to anyone who wants to take my story, whether it's NTV or CBC. But
or VOCM.
what's going on? It's been going on for over 3 years now. And like I literally, no contractor wants to come in my house because of the fact of what had happened, and where it's going through court and stuff. So like I said, we have no shower, no tub, no nothing. We got to go to the gym and shower because this guy walked away, or the gym and the swimming pool, because this guy walked away because we had a dispute and left my house in shambles. And like he also had an electrician come in and do a bunch of work, had no electrical permits. Now everything has to be torn out according to service and now. So, it's a whole mess. And like I said, I've already tried to get I'm self-representing myself, and I'm reaching out to any lawyer that wants to take this case, or anyone else who knows or who's been in this type of situation, where something like this happened with a contractor. Well, like I said, the guy's trying to sue me for $25,000 worth of work that he didn't even do, which I can prove with timestamp pictures and videos when the time comes.
So he's suing you. I thought it was going to go the other way, to be perfectly honest. But
no, but on top of that, Brian, he actually cut out a hole in the second story of my house where the bathroom used to be to make it open concept, and didn't put up a safety railing because I was going to get in the way of his work. He was going to do it after he was done his work. I came out in the middle of the night, fell 9 feet to the front porch, lay there for 6 hours till he came in and found me the next morning. And when he found me, he begged me not to say nothing when the ambulance came and took me to the hospital, and I was there 20 minutes on the floor waiting for him to call the ambulance. The ambulance finally showed up. He picked me up and laid me outside the door, and I had to hobble out to the ambulance. Even my neighbors seen all of this. So I'm actually, there's so much to this story, and I want this story to be made public. People need to know what happened and my side of the story and the facts and the timestamp pictures and videos. Like, this needs to be made public. So I'm reaching out to anyone who wants to take this story.
Of course, the issue here is I'm only going to get one side of it, and that's not your fault. I doubt I'll hear the other side, and that's one of the biggest problems with trying to walk the line on this one. And I am also, of course, given my history and for covering courts, I'm hesitant, absolutely reluctant to get into a case that's currently before the courts in any kind of, whether it's civil or any kind of other action. In general, just let me go back for a second. So your family consists of who? Yourself, your wife, and kids?
My kids, yeah, that's right.
How many kids do you have, if you don't mind me?
I have 3.
So the 5 of you have been going to the park to get showers?
To the public swimming pool indoors in the building, yeah.
Except for the last 3 years?
No shower. Like I work away for like 6 to 8 weeks at a time. When I come home, I only have a few days, and I got to go again. So I've been working on it myself every time I come home. So like hopefully now this shift coming up now, I almost have my bathroom complete, so it'll be finished like this next shift when I come home in a couple of weeks.
But you got to do it yourself, as opposed to him finishing a job that you did you pay him everything up front, or what happened there?
He was paid up to that point, and. Actually, I've had contractors that come in, like some walls that were built were all warped, and there's like he painted over gyprock that wasn't, plaster that wasn't even sanded. There's like so much damage done to my house. Like I got pictures and videos of everything. Anyone who wants to see it is more than welcome to leave a message and can come over and look at it. I really want building contractors to come in and look at it. Yeah, and anyway, so I've had a couple of quotes, and each quote is in between $20,000 and $25,000 just to fix the work that he'd done without even continuing on and doing the work he was supposed to do.
This is a brutal situation, and it happens to a lot of people. I can tell you, I can hear I say hear it, I can hear the nodding, and maybe, just frustration or back and forth. It's just 100 questions, but as I said, where it's before the courts, so you've reached out to, even the Better Business Bureau. I don't know of a specific advocacy group for this kind of alleged negligence. I say alleged because nothing's been proven or in court yet. And you said, again, if you can get a lawyer to look at it, have you had lawyers look at it? Because a lot of times, if they know that there's, I won't say a slam dunk, but if they think there's a pretty good resolution here and you have a good case, a lawyer will take it on. If they're not so sure and there's a lot of gray area, did you have a full contract in place that stipulated all the work that had to be done for the money paid?
Well, it was all verbal, but he was made aware of all the work that he had done, but it was all like he had a list of everything that he had to do, and it was pay as you go, right? So I was paying him as we go, and
it was going okay, right?
Well, no, it was going okay up until I started seeing the deficiencies. That's when I stopped him and I said, "Hey, man, like there was one bedroom that he painted and plastered 3 times because all the bubbles kept coming through the wall. Like he was always in a rush. He was always in a rush to get out of this, so he'd just slap it on, then it'd come back and be bubbling. So I told him I wasn't paying for his rework. And then we had a big argument, and he walked out the door, and he told me he was going to sue me. And I said, "Well, what are you going to sue me for?" I said, you're paid up to date. And I said, I didn't have a quote. It was after the fact that I went out and got other contractors to come in and quote the damage. And I mean, you got to see the videos. You wouldn't believe how much the walls are warped, and just the damage done to my house is unreal. And it was left in an unfinished state. And like I said, I have no kitchen. My kitchen is all studs and insulation. There's a working stove and fridge in that, but I have no cupboards. I have no walls. I have no nothing. I'm just picking at that, when I get home, a little bit by little bit. And even my basement, I tore my basement out in 2019. Tore it right out to the studs. Tore the studs out, everything right to the concrete. Got pictures to prove it. It was tore out in 2019. He even tried to claim that he tore out the entire basement, right? So I have pictures of everything. I had to contradict everything that he has not done this work. I've got the pictures and videos to show it, and I hope whoever hears this will come in and see for themselves what's actually going on. And these pictures and videos will show what actually happened.
Loud and clear. 30 seconds, I got to get going. But, I would suggest that it's going to be a tangle given that it was all verbal. That's just going to be the first hurdle you're going to have to overcome. But look, at the same time, though, it was verbal. But you know what? All these pictures show the stages and show all the work as it was being done. So like I said, I just want any building contractors that can come in and do inspections, lawyers, any broadcasting stations, whoever wants to pick this up or call me and look further into it, please do so. Thanks for the call and for bringing it to light.
All right, thanks so much.
Good luck. Take care. Okay. Thanks, man. It's a tough one. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Buyer beware, maybe, but you can never plan for those kind of eventualities. Okie doke, that was a show. Thanks, everyone. Wild show, good show. Lots of calls, lots of reaction. That's what we love. Let's everybody drive safely, arrive alive. VOCM cares.